Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes. So, last class, we have discussed certain topics from the introduction. Today, we'll discuss certain topics which was not discussed in the last class. I think last class, Munisa had discussed about public choice approach theory. Then we have NPM, good governance, and how you can link certain current affairs into those topics. So today, what I would like to discuss will be the first part of the introduction. So we have two strategies that we adopt in the first module. That is one, the introduction. Within the introduction, we divide the entire syllabus into two parts. You know that there are a couple of topics in the introduction. See, this being the syllabus. So the first part of the syllabus that we would like to divide will be, which includes meaning, scope, significance, Wilson's vision, evolution of discipline, new public administration. So till NPA is the first part. And the second part, what Munisa discussed in the previous class. Public choice, couple of topics in the good governance and NPM. So, so why we are dividing this introduction into two parts? The reason is the second part of the introduction is the only area that you can add or you can bring certain current affairs or certain extra topics from the from the paper or whatever news articles that you read. The first topic or the first part of the topic that today that we are going to discuss, meaning, scope, Wilson, evolution, and NPA. So what you can see in this first particular part is that we are going to put out some common elements. Common elements means we'll analyze the previous year questions. So through previous year questions, I would like to show you that there are only repeating themes and there are only common answers and there are common set of thinkers that you can apply. So for the first four part, meaning, scope, significance, again, Wilson, you know, particularly the Woodrow Wilson's a direct question. Evolution, we know that it is all about a direct question in NPA. So in these four topics, we are going to discuss there are common elements, common answers, and we can include thinkers. So whenever you are writing an answer for these introduction questions, the one thing that you need to remember is to add a thinker to every answer. Every answer, there should be a thinker. So there should be a thinker in every answer, at least a comp mention. You can even bring the thinker to NPM. Again, you can even add it into the public choice approach. Also, in particularly the first part, everywhere, even the meaning, scope, significance question, you can add a thinker. So adding a thinker add to your value. So that is the value that you need in an answer for the first introduction portions. So let me start. Let me show you how we are going to talk about it. See, I hope Munisa had shown the slide before you last time. So this is where we divide the introduction and the questionnaires. So what we are seeing in the recent years is that the questions are coming from the second part, which I have discussed. So when you look at the questions that are asked in 2022, again, 21, almost everything belongs to the second part. So many questions is being asked from public choice approach, NPM, good governance areas, or the second part of it. And a very few questions have been asked from in the first part. But this is not a trend. This cannot be a trend because we cannot predict the UPSC. So since we are not taking that risk, we need to go through all the portions. But again, we can see a good trend they're asking in the second part. Second part, you cannot skip public choice approach or even the NPM part. You cannot skip those portions. So what about the first part? In this particular class, I'm going to divide the first part again by looking at the questions in particular about meaning. in particularly about scope, in particularly about whether any question asks for significance. Again, in terms of Wilson, what are the questions they asked over those 22 years? So what are the questions they asked during the evolution of this 22 years? So this is my idea. So we are going to look at what are the kind of questions they asked in the past 20 years from this part. And let us see how and why and in what manner you can answer those questions. So this is a question, and before starting this, I just want to also to show you about last 5 years question. This is the last 5 years question numbers from 2018 to 2022. Look at the first part, meaning, scope, significance had only 2 questions. Wilson, they did not ask any question. Evolution, they did not ask any direct question. NBA, 2 questions, and the number of questions in the last 5 years in the second part, the public choice theory, challenges, good governance, and NPM is on a rise. Again, I'm not telling you this is not a, I'm not telling you to follow this as a trend. No, because UPSC, we cannot trust them. They can ask any questions. But since this is a new age, like public administration is so close to the entire administrative substance, UPSC is asking some of the relevant questions that is the second part, the public choice, the good governance, the NPM part. They can ask Wilson, they can ask evolution. Those are very straightforward, direct questions. So what I'm going to do today, we will be talking about the meaning, Wilson, evolution, and NPA, where I'm going to deconstruct what are the questions asked in the each portions, and through which how can we answer and add values to it. So let me take the first portion. Portion that is meaning, scope, and significance. So there have been a lot of questions again in the past from this. They ask questions from meaning. They ask questions from most of the question from scope, and they ask the questions from public versus private administration. These are the areas over the 22 years UPSC had asked questions. So the major focus is on scope of administration. Pala type, they have asked different types using different jargons, different terminologies. They've asked questions in the scope and the meaning, and pretty straightforward questions in the public and the private. Let us take each. And the meaning you will understand from this. And the meaning there are 2 questions over those years we can again attribute to the meaning part. So there are 2 questions. See, let me start from the second question. Administrative questions are not political questions. Discuss. Second question, again, the second question that I would like to discuss is the study of administration should start from the base of the management rather than the foundation of the law. Explain. So hopefully you know how the question keywords are formed. Discuss when the question discusses that you need to write the both sides. So when we take the question, administrative questions are not the political questions. This is a quote. This is a very simple, straightforward quote mentioned by Woodrow Wilson. And if you can see, administration and politics. Administration and politics both in a particular question, and if it is a straightforward question, remember this question should write or should have Wilson, his concept of dichotomy. So administration and politics in question concept Wilson, again, because he was the one who talks about administration or politics administration dichotomy. There are a lot of people who talk about political administration later on, but he was a person who supported, and his version was believed by for over a decade of years. So if there is something in a question like administration and politics related to it, you can definitely bring out Wilson. So this is a straightforward question, simple, direct question. Administrative questions are not political questions. So how to deconstruct this question? Who all you can bring in this question? You need to write them both sides. You need to write, support the statement. And since it's being a discussed question, you need to say the other version about it. So, ഒരു side support ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി or the question statement support ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് you have Wilson. So you can say about why he idea brought out dichotomy. He had again ruthlessly given about the dichotomy being the only way to study about administration എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. So look, let us take this idea. So I'm meaning എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചേക്കുന്ന first question ആണ് politics and administration. So anything that comes in politics and administration, again, if you want to support the dichotomy and if you want to talk about they are separate, then it is basically Woodrow Wilson. So associate Woodrow Wilson in the answer will fetch you half side. Since it being a discussed question, you can write also the other side. You have to write. So who will you bring? That is the reason idea. Ivideയാണ് I'm trying to tell you, whenever there is politics and administration, you can definitely say the second person that you can mention is Waldo. Because Waldo is a person who says that it is not dichotomy. I'm against the dichotomy. I don't like the concept. I'm going for the fusion concept. Or he says that administration cannot be moved away from the politics. So administrative decisions are always influenced by political considerations. This is Waldo's statements. So other side of the question, you can definitely add Waldo. On one half, you can support Woodrow Wilson, saying that dichotomy, again, whatever he said is right because of all the administrative and the politics are separate. And you can say about what was his idea about administration. But about side about Waldo, he said administrative decisions need political act. It need political consideration. Be public opinion, be interest group, be political ideologies, everything. Every administrative decision is influenced by the political considerations. Another person, if you want to add or strengthen your answer, the person will be Charles Lindblom. Again, he also mentioned that decision-making administration is inherently political. It is influenced by political forces. You cannot diverse administration from political context. So two powerful statements on the other side. So what should be your takeaway? My takeaway, or what I'd like you to take from this idea is, whenever there's a question related to from the meaning means from the introduction, whether it's a plain statement related to the politics and administration, yes, you can say that. You can add Woodrow Wilson on the one side, Waldo and Lindblom on the other side. I hope I'm clear. Clear or no? Yes. So this is something that you can put through. So this is how you are going to tackle the questions. So meaning this is the first question that asked. The administrative questions are not political questions. Straightforward, easy. Let us see another question. The study of administration should start from the base of management rather than the foundation of law. So questions seem to be very complex. No, it is a simple question. It's just a plain explain question. So you can basically write 3/4 of the answer saying that administration is basically had a lot of things from management, which says that, and which basically says that administration is always the same. It can involve a lot of stuffs like managing the things, organizing things, not just law or legal aspect. So let us crack the answer. Then I will let you see. When you look at this particular question, you can see that I have given here two sides. Even if it is the keyword change into a discuss, you can write the answer. Explain ആവണമെങ്കിൽ straightforward ആണ്, discuss രണ്ട് സൈഡും ചെയ്യാം. So study of administration should be from management. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ yes, because administration itself is a kind of management. because administration is same everywhere, be it public or private, it's same everywhere. There is a concept we believe, and you can derive a lot of things, lot of management skills from across different disciplines into public administration. For example, you can, if you look at how the administrative theory develops. Administrative theory develop it was classical, where people believe in just men, methods, and machine. Uh, Forward looking, they slowly understand that you need to take care of men, you need to take care how to manage the people, you need to take care of informal groups, you need to take care about a lot of relations between them. These are all coming up. So it is a management. Administration is also management. So the foundation or the study of administration should be from management. So you can support saying that organizational behavior, leadership, decision making, HR management, whatever the things that you have studied, they're all crucial on how organization functions, on how public policies are implemented. So those are the reasons why we have incorporated trainings, a good HR policy. These are all applicable even in a public organization. So it's a part of management. So you are managing people. So at the end of the day, this is the management stuff. But it is also some kind of legal thing. You can also say legal foundation is helpful. Law, legal, എന്നൊക്കെ ചോദിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ എപ്പോഴും ആലോചിക്കുക, it is a framework. ഇതിനുള്ളിൽ നിന്നുകൊണ്ട് it is a നിയമമാണ്. So ഇതിനുള്ളിൽ നിന്നു. So what legality or what law provides is a framework within which we can work. So administration needs a legal framework. It needs a complaints. It needs some kind of accountability. So the legal base is also important, yes. But you cannot say that it cannot be only the law. So it is a mix of both management and, again, random. But when the question is just to explain the statement, support the first management. It should be from the management. More other. If it is a discuss question, write in a equal half. But law also has its own importance. Legal framework it provides. Again, the legal or the law shape the administrative process, the decision making, authority exercised in the system. So these are all says that study of administration can also be from law. So there is both points, law and management. What about the thinker? Scientific management. Bring in Taylor. Taylor gives you scientific management. So Taylor says that, again, you have a lot of stuff that you can absorb. So he may neglect your men. Pakshe, he had a lot of the scientific management techniques which are adopted during the Industrial Revolution time, and it was successful. When it comes to the classical theorists, even though we neglected the classic, even though we had a huge criticism related to the classical theorists, including Taylor, what is one of the relevance we can say? Despite all the criticism, they were relevant at that point of time, particularly the industrial organizations. So they were relevant for the industrial organization, even though we couldn't pick up so much efficiency in the public organization, but they could be successful in the industrial organizations. So relevant. So the Taylor, the one you can use when it comes to management. Remember, scientific management. So management in the bring in Taylor. So ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനിൽ നിന്ന് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു കീവേഡ് കണ്ടിട്ട് whenever you see a particular keyword or whenever you see a particular word, link it to, again, its relevant thinker. Important. So an answer which have no mention of thinker, an answer which have a couple of mentions about thinkers, the marks will be really different on. Again, the valuation itself says that you need to connect towards it. So that is the key thing. So try to always link any kind of thinkers, relevant thinkers, into key questions. So this is a meaning, simple, because only 2 questions are come from the meaning. Let us look at the main area. First area is the question scope. Though there are a lot of questions from scope, but if an interesting thing, almost every question have same kind of answers. Almost every question have same kind of answers. So let me take one again, the second, third, fourth questions in this order. So public administration is constantly reinvented because it is contextual. So it is reinvented because it is contextual. It is well known from this particular sentence itself because it is getting reinvented. It is changing because it is contextual. So public administration is depends upon context. Or upon our subject, public administration will always change because it is always associated with the socio-economic, political, cultural environment. So it will always get reinvented. Look at the second question. Scope of discipline of public administration is determined by what administrative system does. Yes, administrative system has a lot of functions. Today they will have one function, tomorrow they will have an advanced function. So this is an emerging era where we have AI, we have the crisis of again the climate change, terrorism, lot of activities. So today administrative system does a couple of things, tomorrow they have a lot of other works. So the scope increases. Again, there is a question, part question to that. Does that mean the scope of discipline is boundaryless? Explain. So again, the idea is to discuss about the scope. Again, public administration is the translation of politics into reality, and that citizen sees every day. Yes, true. What is public administration doing? They're working on the interest of the people. So whatever people's value, aspirations, their beliefs, that is something what the politicians make it as a purpose. That is what gets translated into the reality. So remember the diagram that we used to draw in the class: state, administration, and people. So people elect state. State knows what people wants. So state basically will form about it with the help of administration. They are going to implement. So at the end of the day, this is again what the crux of the question is what the administration does. So what is the scope about it? So its scope is, again, every day is growing, it is changing, it is getting reinvented because it is contextual. So three questions, they have the almost 90% of the answer is the same. Couple of things that you have to add in the second part, second question. Let us see. No question. See, this is a question that I would like to show you. Everything is same, constantly being reinvented because it is contextual. So whenever you see such a question, remember this is something that we believe from school. So what is the one thing that you need to remember? Dynamic nature of public administration. It depends upon specific socio-political, cultural, economic context. So, and public administration's effectiveness depends upon its ability to adapt to changes. If public administration is being static, again, it's going to create a big problem. See what happened. What happened in 1960s in United States. Again, there were a lot of problems that led to again ditching of the traditional public administration and adoption of the new public administration. So there has a lack of adaptability during that time. They could not change. That is the reason why one of the features of NP is change oriented. Change, it should not be static. And not whatever. So effectiveness also depends upon stability. So when I talk about the scope, you can see that again, it should move with the change. Again, you can look at the fourth point. Public administrators are responsible for executing policies, managing resources, and delivering the public service. So whatever is essential for the citizens' well-being, that is what public administration does. So the values, the norm, expectation of people is the one thing that shapes the goals and the priorities of public administration. So at the end of the day, the scope is increasing because of the dynamic nature, because of the socio-political, cultural context. Again, because of the people's aspirations, values, norms, expectations. It's all changing because at the end of the day, what people want, that is what public administration is doing. So the scope is moving. So there are a lot of questions asked in this area. മിക്ക ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനും സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്നറിയാം, പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ഈസ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞായിരിക്കും. So they may start in like what public administration is. So public administration is constantly reinvented. Public administration is a translation. It's basically telling that, okay, idana another രീതിയിലേക്ക്. So it is basically talking about the scope, how big or what is the area field of public administration. Area field of public administration is going beyond. Eppozhum increase here. So you don't need to throw big jargons. You don't need to throw big terminologies. Make it simple. Make it simple, add a thinker. So who you can add? You can definitely bring in Herbert Simon, because Simon's ideas of decision making, he particularly says that it is bounded by various factors. So according to Simon, the decision making in public administration depends upon the structure, the resource, the political environment. Okay. So it is contextual. So in a particular question of being contextual and it is being reinvented constantly, you can ask or use Simon. So scope questions, Simon use here. Also, the big person that we always use in scope is Waldo. Waldo quote. I hope you remember the quote. Anything? Any idea? Even we have drawn certain diagrams. The only one, yeah, the stable core. The stable core and the vacillating periphery. Bad or public administration has a stable core, but a vacillating periphery. So when you look at the Waldo's question also, or the thing about scope also, you can bring in Waldo. You can draw a very rudimentary diagram like a stable core with a circle in the core and vacillating periphery. Simple item is scope questions. So two people you can associate when it comes to scope, Simon and Waldo. So whenever you study or whenever you practice, if you can inculcate this, you'll automatically use this when it comes to the test series. So divide it. So already we have studied about a lot of these persons. So we're only cherry picking them and putting it in our appropriate place. So that is again question. Another question that was asked way back. See, that question is basically, yeah. That question is also basically talks about scope. This is back in 2006. There is a difficult question asked. Difficult means, again, if you think on one way, it can be difficult. But again, this is also a simpler. It takes some time to understand. So whenever I write a test or whenever I read a question, what I do is I'll calmly read it twice at least. Question, whenever you're reading a question, kindly try to read it twice, because it may contain some jargons or some word that you cannot understand, but there will be something that you can write from over there, something that connection that you will get. So try to read these kind of questions very slowly and at least twice. Not very slowly means in a calm twice. You will get the answer. So that is the kind of trick they use in public administration. So look at this question. If public administration is to play a major legitimizing role in governing our complex society, it needs to be more fully conceptualized. Discuss. The statement, the half of the statement is pretty easy to connect. What about the second part? It needs to be fully conceptualized. So what do you mean by conceptualized or conceptualization? Make it as a theory or a concept. Conceptualization, what's the nearest word that you can look at when it comes to conceptualization? Concept. So what do you mean by concept? Concept means a particular definition, a particular idea. So a concrete idea. Let's see. So the question over here, whether public administration, whether not, the question is, it's a discussed question. So you can write the both sides. The first statement says that the public administration may, if it has to play a major legitimizing role in the society, it needs to be more conceptualized. So let's start from saying that, yes, conceptualization is essential because we need to write the both sides. Random. So what do you mean by conceptualization? So when you talk about concept or when you talk about theory, or when you talk about more study about it, you can say a person's name, a thinker. You may not go through this person. His name is Charles Goodsell. Charles Goodsell was the person who basically said that public administration or public administrators should not be narrowly perceived as a bureaucratic management. They should be viewed in a broader manner. Broader manner means it includes public values, policies, ഇതെല്ലാം ഉണ്ടാവണം. ഒരു വെറും bureaucratic management ആയിട്ട് വെക്കാൻ പാടില്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. So what he suggests was you need to conceptualize public administration. പക്ഷേ അതൊരു broader manner conceptualize ചെയ്യും. So what I mean by conceptualizing, basically you're putting that we need a concrete theory, or we need a constant setup so that it can solve all the complex problems. So the question is, if anything should be conceptualized, which means anything around it, or concept it is 100% sure that it is defined, it is well made, it includes all the things, the broad things. Okay. Goodsell also knows, he said that we need conceptualization because public administration is not just bureaucratic management. It's not like managing few men, few people, few methods. No, it is also including all the public values and policies. So it's a broad conceptualization. So that is what Goodsell says. And how can you conceptualize PABAD? Conceptualizing public administration means you need to understand all the public interest. What is the interest of public? What is the interest of public? So you can say that people, again, Waldo says that, of course, Waldo and he says that public administration is basically having a vacillating benefit. Or it is basically, you should include the public interest. You should take into consideration the people. You should take into consideration people. He talked about that. It is basically, again, the includes in the political context. So when you look at, when you term public administration as conceptualized or conceptualization, it is basically in a broad sense. So it is good. Nalla area. You can conceptualize public administration. And how you can conceptualize it? Again, few examples. Understanding public interest. You need to understand the public interest because you can conceptualize the public administration in these ways. How? You can understand what the public requires, what the public really wants. That same thing Waldo has said. This particular administration or this particular thing is not static because you need to understand the public interest. Again, second thing, how you can conceptualize PABAD? By incorporating diversity, inclusion. So public administration should embrace diversity and inclusion. Decision making, equitable system. Again, you need to take into consideration of marginalized groups. So Rosemary Allaire basically talks about the significance of incorporating diversity and inclusion. You may not go through again the person, but you can take out that she says that there should be diversity and inclusion, diverse things in public administration. So conceptualizing public administration can also be done by addressing complex things and interconnectedness, which means a lot of interlinkages will be there. Modern governance consists of a lot of complex challenges. So it is all connected. There are a lot of relationship between each other. So there is a lot of systems that you should adopt. So what is the idea? If you want to tackle, according to the statement, if you want to tackle a complex society, PABAD should be conceptualized. It should be broad. We all say, Goodsell say it should be broad. And it should be tied, or it should be made as a concept. This is only one side. So since it's a discussed question, you can write the other side also. Do we need to conceptualize PABAD? Or can we conceptualize PABAD? That is the right question. Can we conceptualize PABAD? Public administration is not like any other subject. It is changing day to day. You cannot make public administration rigid. So if you try to conceptualize PABAD, it would be rigid. It would be rigid. As the days pass, as the months pass, as the years and decades pass, public administration will also face challenges if it is rigid. If you make it as a rigid concept. അതുകൊണ്ട് Conceptualization is not necessary because if you look at conceptualization, it's going to be very difficult. It's not going to work out because today, imagine, I always tell you in the class, what was public administration in 2000 and what is public administration in 2023? People's value change, perception change, demands change, things entirely change. Society has undergone a significant change. Matter of 20 years. Society went through different stuff. And it is right now facing a lot of challenge. The challenges faced in 2000 was not the same challenge in 2023. So if you are right now, imagine you're right now in 2023 trying to conceptualize public administration, make it a rigid concept. What will happen in 2040? The world will be nothing like in that will be like in 20, right? It will be entirely changed. So how can you make a concept like PABAD a rigid one? Yeah, we agree. Everybody talk about broadness. How broad you can do it right now, there is a limitation. So things happening in a particular year cannot be the same thing the next or next or the next decade. So what is the problem that you can see? Yes, you cannot make it a rigid concept, or you cannot make it as a concept. A concept means a concept. It is a universal. But we are only trying to become universal. No, we are always changing. So this is the thing that you can talk about being conceptual. So both sides you can talk about. So that is the reason why you cannot just go through and make it a conceptual. So this is one question again you can see in the part. Also, I think, yeah, these are the questions. These are the 4 questions that you can see. So this is only question that was a bit off-bit. Direct questions. So majority of the questions are straightforward direct questions from scope that which we should write a thinker's name. Waldo, again, Simon, and all can say about, again, scope, being not contextual, being, again, stable core and vacillating periphery. Again, and even in this particular question, again, I have to say another way of writing this question. In this particular question, constantly being reinvented because it is contextual. In this question, something that you know can be used as examples. Ingene dynamic nature take an example of the evolution. Look at what was public administration back in the first paradigm. Just dichotomy. Later, we move out of it. Slow and steady, we moved out of it, evolved, and we reach the good governance paradigm. So see, look, it is constantly being reinvented because it is contextual. Why it is contextual? Why PABAD has changed? I told you why NPA has changed because of the context. America has went through crisis in 1960 due to Vietnam War, due to the economic, like in assassinations and everything. So what happened? Contextually, PABAD has to change. So, this question is evolution. Evolution. General exam evolution because other change in it. So this is a scope. Yeah, this is the scope. That's it. Again, another question, another area which is very simple from the first part, meaning scope as well as the significant in the public versus private. It's a lottery because straightforward questions. Again, questions. Not so many questions have been come from these areas in the last few years, but questions have been pretty straightforward. They ask public, private, the similarity, same genus, despite the difference. Question. So it is very easily direct questions. So again, I would like to throw some stuffs or some thinkers into when you're writing the public and private. So when you write the public and private administration differences, again, somebody who supported both are equal, both are same, or both are similar, Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol says administration is administration. Whatever, be it private, be it public, administration is administration. What about the other people difference? Waldo, Simon, both of them say that, see, there is differences. Simon specifically says that there's a difference in the decision-making process. When it comes to a public administration, it is the administrators face complex, uncertain decision environments. Private language, it is not that complex when it comes to the public. So there are a lot of diverse stakeholders when it comes to the public administrators. Not private administrators, they are fixed. They know who are there. They know what are the demand. They know how to satisfy them. When it comes to public, there is an umpty number of stakeholders. So Waldo, Simon, when it comes to the difference, they are not the same. Again, difference. Similarities, again, you can talk about Henry Fire. Straightforward, Henry Fire. And one of the questions asked back then related to public and private administration is this question. You may not understand that you can use the public and private administration in this particular question. That is the problem of this question. So, but still, if you think twice, if you read twice, you can say that something that you can relate it to is the importance or significance of public administration. See, look at the question. Again, bolded words, publicness of public administration in an ideal democratic government remains the ultimate value in theory and practice. Again, elucidate means explain. So publicness of public administration remains the ultimate value in theory and practice. That is the crux of the question, which means public version or the importance of being the public, it is a core part. The publicness in the public administration. So what is the difference or what is the impact or what is the key significance in terms of public administration with respect to the private administration? So public had a lot of opportunity, they had a lot of responsibility, they had a citizen orientation, they're non-profit oriented, they go for the welfare, they're not looking for and whatever things they are doing, they are basically going for the welfare, thing. Not the 3 E's, efficiency, economy, and the effectiveness. No. Publicness means basically they are going forward. They are promoting the public thing. The idea of public administration basically is to promote the common good, ensure accountability. That is the publicness you bring. Public എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ് again people. So the common good for everybody. Accountable. You're doing something which means you're accountable. Because you're working, your job is to serve people. There are a lot of people who says about again this publicness or public administrators in specific. Waldo, as we know that Waldo always emphasizes on the publicness in public administration. Specifically, he said that public and private administration are different, and you know that public has a lot of responsibility. They are the stewards of democratic values. And then Waldo പറഞ്ഞത്. They are considered to be the stewards of democratic values. They are the ones who take forward the democratic values. They prioritize welfare over the profit. So there is publicness. So that is the ultimate value. That is the thing, because they promote the part. So again, you can bring the same person, Charles Goodson. He said that in public administration, you need a value-based approach. What do you mean by value-based? Again, public values, fairness, equity, again, common good, pursuit for the common good. So it should be, these are the things that should be prioritized, because these values guide the decision-making process and resource allocation and service delivery. So the publicness of the public administration always remains the ultimate, because it is the most important, because at the end of the day, public administration prioritizes public values. What is common food code? What is good for all? And knowledge. Also, there is another American political scientist, John Brown, concept says about public servants. Public servants. So we have 3 people you can use in when it comes to this publicness, or even you can say when it comes to the public and private administration, you can throw these people along with all the people, along with, as I told you, Waldo, Simon, again, Goodsell, John Rowe. So എന്താ ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, just know, whenever you hear this particular video, again, just make sure that you link it with. So scope on the yes, you can bring these people. So It's automatic. You don't need to think about, okay, who said anything about it. You're going to study a lot of people. So you're just codifying it. So that is the work you're doing. So John Rowe, concept of public servant, he says that public administrators are not mere bureaucrats, but they are individuals who serve the public interest. Same thing. So they embody the value of the democratic governance. So public values, democratic governance, these are all things that you can put out in this publicness question. Other public-private out there, even if it is a straightforward question, you don't need to do that. But still, if you can do when it comes to the thinkers, you can add the people over there. So if there is a question about publicness, again, the significance of public administration, straightforward. All right. Yes. Oh, meaning the next will be Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, Woodrow Wilson, over the 20 years, they have asked certain questions. See, administrative questions are not political questions. That's a Woodrow Wilson. Say you can even, again, categorize it as Woodrow Wilson question. Another question they asked was, what was Wilson's vision of public administration? That is a straightforward question. What is the relevance of his essay? They are asked in past that question. Then one of the questions they are asked was, the father of Pabad, is it right? And is he justified? Then some, as I told you, quotes. There are some brilliant quotes made by Woodrow Wilson. So other question Pakshe, for the last 5 years, UPC had neglected this guy. They have rejected this guy. But we may not know. Whether they will ask questions. But it is a straightforward. Woodrow Wilson is not a disturbing person. It's a very simple, straightforward person. So you can learn whatever his contributions are. So this is that. Listen, what I'm going to say right now pretty carefully. What you need to do when it comes to a thinker, a question thinker, what you're going to do. So Woodrow Wilson, pretty straightforward question. Whenever you're studying a thinker, whenever you learn a thinker, make sure you learn it in a template. What you don't need to know about all the life values. When we teach all these things, I want a base to create. That's the reason why we taught all the life, whatever his background, blah blah books. Again, you need to know the name of the essay. What else in Woodrow Wilson? The template will be contribution. Number one, study the contribution. The contribution list here 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever contribution, at least study 4 to 5 contributions. Again, criticisms. When you study the contribution, you again relate the criticisms. So criticism kittiya contribution which is good. For every thinker, their major theory or major idea would be criticized. Take an example of Woodrow Wilson. Dichotomy. Dichotomy criticized every person has criticized dichotomy. And we will write dichotomy because it's the most important contribution. When you look at another example, Wilson says that about nature of public administration, because Wilson believed that public administration had a narrow definition, because he believed that the public administration is a government in action, but he believed that it is basically the executives. That means he believed that it is basically policy implementation, not policy formulation. So, list down or thinker. Whenever you learn a thinker, you can point out these things. What are the contributions? What are the contributions about Woodrow Wilson? Likewise, anyone, Taylor, Fayol, again, Weber, Foley, Mayo, Tuck. This is a contribution. This is whenever you're preparing a note, a very short note for yourself, or whenever you're preparing for the examination, these are the point that I will write only. I can expand it. If I have a bare minimum knowledge about what I've read, yeah, I can expand it. So politics, administration, dichotomy, yes, you guys know how to expand it. Science of administration, because he was a person. who basically say that there should be science. Administration should be science. See, if you can recollect why, see, the reason why when we teach for the first time, the reason why we talk about all these backgrounds is because you need to know why this guy had said all these things. In case of Wilson, you know that he has seen every problem of the spoil systems. Spoil system completely under. Again, he knew that America's a rotten side, and he wanted to take, or he wanted to move out of it. So he believed in the scientific movement or the science progressive movement. Because at that point of time, across the globe, particularly in US and Europe, there was a movement for everything to be called as science. So Wilson also said administration can be science. And what all the other people did, they say that, okay, there's some administration is science. What is the science? All those principles. From Fayol out, again, Taylor out, Gould-Korvik out, everybody say that we are going to set certain principles. These principles are universal science. So that is our idea. So Wilson was just saying that, okay, this is science. This should be science. And now corruption. So politics, administration, dichotomy, science of administration, nature of public administration. He believed that the government in action, executives. It was criticized because one of the criticisms is that he failed to understand that public administration include both policy formulation and policy implementation. So whenever you study contribution, you're not going to study all the contribution, all the 10 contribution, all the number of, no, write or study 5, max to max 5, because you can write for a 10 marker, for a 15 marker, 5 points on one side is enough. On the other side, again, you can also write the criticisms. Relative and comparative public administration, brilliant contribution. You cannot call him as a father, but he is basically is a forerunner to Riggs. Administrative ethics, again, brilliant thing that you can associate with Wilson. Only a paragraph was mentioned by Wilson about administrative ethics. He said that there need to be a broad range of ethical obligation beyond all those non-partisan neutrality or technical competence. Every public administrators or public administration needs a range, a broad ethical obligation. We need an administrative ethics. That was the idea. He did not explain anything in detail. We just cherry pick whatever he has written over there, out of that particular essay. Contribution plus criticism. So all the question, every question that you can relate with Woodrow Wilson that asked in the past 20-22 years can be written straightforward. When you study contribution and straightforward, this is a case of all majority of the thinkers. There should be a template to learn, and the template should contain contribution, criticism, and at least a 1 line or a 2-line relevance, because relevance can be used in a conclusion or it can be reframed into the introduction. So intro, conclusion, again, done. Intro. Even if you don't get intro, don't worry too much. If you just write down Woodrow Wilson was a prominent political scientist, blah blah, done. Don't think that, oh, I forgot about the essay's name, or what was his contribution. No. Don't worry. Write a simple one. Come on, body part is the main thing. Again, give the contribution. Again, whatever the question is, relevant parts, then conclude. So template, again, I'm repeating you, the template is straightforward. 1, you need to know the contribution, know the criticism, and at least a minimum relevance for everybody. So this is the idea. Comparison, differences, separate. Like when you compare between 2 thinkers, that's it. So that is Woodrow Wilson. What about evolution? Evolution, for the last 5 years, they have asked no questions, but pretty straightforward questions have been asked from evolutions. Well, again, look at the paradigms directly touched under. One of the questions that directly asked back in the years was locus and focus. So with the help of Golembiski's locus coeruleus concept, explain how the PABAD or public administration theory has been evolved. Again, they ask another question related to the evolution of discipline, the profession of the public administration. So it is pretty same. You don't need to get complex. Discipline and the profession on the activity. Discipline and activity. So when we read the very basic first liners of public administration, we learn that public administration has two things. One, it is a discipline, is an activity. We're doing the administrators are all doing administration. It's also a discipline because it has to be made a discipline, and it is slowly evolving, changing, moving, learning, becoming more and more broad. So evaluation questions are pretty straightforward. You don't need to worry about much about evaluation questions. Just learn again. Locus focus was asked. Again, it can be a potential anytime. Evaluation straightforward. I did no good. Examples. Whenever you write evaluation, again, one thing that you need to know that do not explain any particular paradigm in big. Give importance to everything in an equal sense. So you may know a lot about dichotomy. I don't want a half-page dichotomy. No, I want an equal dichotomy. Again, paradigm 2, 3, then 4, then move on, so that there is an equal distribution. If there is a specific mention about any paradigm or any particular year or particular circumstance, you can expand that part. Unless other than that, write in an ordinary manner. That you don't need to write in an extraordinary manner. You don't need. Yes. What about the other area? NPA, the new public administration. So when you study new public administration, again, NPA has some complex. In the past, they asked some complex questions. Agreed. But what is the general crux of the NPA question? So general crux of NPA question or the NPA things are basically about what are the features about it. So I will show you what is the basic crux. So these are the type of questions they used to ask every time. So in general, they ask questions about NPA, saying that how NPA has jolted the traditional concept, how NPA can be considered, whether NPA can be considered it as a revolution or a radicalism, whether you can add or straightforward question, whether you can add it as a features. And NBC1, same as NPA, reflect the discipline's reconceptualization and changing values. Every single 4 liners I've given over here, answers demand one thing. What are the features? Explain all those kind of features. Kanda features, social equity, change, values, all those features that you can derive from the NPA. How is jolted the traditional concept? Yes, revolution or radicalism, both sides. It has been good, it has been not that great. Features, straightforward. Has it changed discipline's reconceptualization? Yes. Because traditional public administration was value neutral. Again, it was static oriented. Today, discipline itself has changed because it was it has the core of the discipline. Values. So these are kind of similar questions. So over the course of those 22 years, they had asked again, likewise, almost 7 questions from the NPA. So all the 4 questions asked in different years had same answers, but there were also some different questions. When it comes to you cannot classify it as under the NPA. Even the second part, NPF straightforward question. When you look at the first question, see, I'm talking about the first question. Public administration has been viewed as a socially embedded process of collective relationship, dialogues, and action. Examine the statement in light of the consensus achieved in the third minimum of conference. So it is not that related to NPA, but why I've included this under NPA? Because if it is a big question, if it is a big marker question, if it is the straightforward 20 marker question, then what do you need to do? You may need to explain a couple of things from NPA. Then slowly you move to the minimum proc, then explain in detail about the third minimum proc. Because it's straightforward. Examine the statement in the consensus, in the light of the consensus achieved on the partner. So, that is the thing. So, there are certain questions you can see, even though you have no idea what is basically what basically happened or what is the consensus that achieved in the NBC3. Don't worry. Look at the question. Look at the first statement. Explain PubAd has been viewed as a socially embedded process of collective relationship, dialogue, and action, which means public administration today or the public administration of the present is a socially embedded process, which means it is not just the government, it involves everyone. It is a social connection. It is a collective relationship. It is a dialogue. It is an action, togetherness. So collective relationship, dialogue, and action. So traditional concept, again, be it NPA, traditional concept, Mari, today in the year of 2008, you can see that there has been a the light has been to collective things. So in the common something that I can write in common things, see collaboration and networks, because it is a collective one. Because right now public administration is not just the government, it's not just the role of the government. It is basically again by the private people. It is by the citizens. So citizen engagement, participation, social equity, inclusion, ethical considerations. So whatever you can write in a futuristic or a prospective thing about PubAd, that can be all be included in the NBC3. NBC third is had a lot of things. So that is something like a prospective thing, the consensus, the way public administration should move ahead. And how you are going to take it forward. These are the things. Question Gandal, you may feel that you don't understand or you don't know NBC3. I've skipped the NBC3. I studied everything else. See, simply you can write. You can always explain all those things. What do you mean? Guys, we go for a very short break because I had to pick a call in urgent. We'll go for a very short break of 5 minutes max. Yes. Yeah. So that's all about the first question. What about the second question? See, second question is a difficult question. I can say that it is a difficult question. It is a difficult question because you may not know what is a phenomenological approach. In general way, we are not learning or we are not studying such a phenomenological approach because that approach is not an approach of public administration, not an idea from public administration. But let us see how you can crack the question. The phenomenological approach advocated by the NPA has obstructed the path of theory building in public administration. So this is the straightforward question. And just to whatever there is no particular keyword. So you can write what on the both sides. So what the phenomenological approach means. So ഒരു വേർഡ് അറിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ what we are first trying to do, we are trying to divide it. So phenomenological approach, if you're seeing it for the first time, you may not have any idea, but if you can read it once again, sometimes you can go through it. But what is the space? Why I'm telling you, try to attend this question. And the karyam nu parnal, you all have seen the question papers. So the first question, which consists of the sub questions, adil oru question definitely will be an introduction question. So the introduction questions are coming up in section A, paper 1, section A. So there is a compulsory question that you need to write in introduction. Also, there will be a 20-mark question in any of the in the second question or third question, and also there will be 15-mark question. So this is a trend that we used to see. There will be a minimum of 3 questions that are asked every year. Sometimes it can be 2. So there will be a compulsory question, there will be a 20-mark question, there will be a 50-mark question. So 10, 15, and 20, 3 segments they will touch. And if this question comes in the compulsory 10-mark question, we have no other option other than to write something. So what about the phenomenological approach? Phenomenological approach is basically means something that we should consider as a phenomena. It is basically not a public administration approach. It is basically an idea from sociology and psychology. Basically, it is if you can look at the dictionary meaning of phenomenology, or it is basically to understand the experience, meaning, interpretation of the individual, or individual understanding in a petit. So, what is the crux of this question means NPA phenomenological approach advocated, which has obstructed the theory building. So my second keyword is theory building. So what do you mean by theory? Any theory in any part of the world from any discipline, if it want to be a theory, it has to be universal and it has to be predictable. It has to be universal and it has to be predictable. So that is the only thing that I know about this question. Theory building is universal and predictable. So the question says that NPA is basically obstructing the theory building. So what is NPA said? NPA said everything good. Change, value, again, whatever thing, relevance, client focus, but it did not work out literally. Workout idea. And what is this idea? Let me explain this particular question. The phenomenological approach advocated by NPA had obstructed the path. A phenomenology is an individual assumption. Everything has to be gone through an individual. Individual's experience, experiments, or his life, again, his approach, his meaning should be taken. Public administration is individualistic. So phenomenology means it depends upon the interpretation of an individual within the administrative context. What I understand, this is NPA. So that is the reason why NPA say relevance, value, social equity, change, client focus. Whenever they speak about this, they say that it should be in a phenomenological way, which means to an individual way. Why why did they give away this phenomenological approach? Because the theory or the most important pattern before NPA was prevalent was the behavioral one. Behavioral approach of public administration was started getting too rigid, too rational. It was not helping in the public administration. And those ideas with the behavioral approach, everything, that's not a concrete idea. Lot of people said, lot of concepts. It did not come into a concrete thing. And post the World War, Second World War, post-war era, again, or the 1950s or decade of 60s, the public administration was not successful in America also. So that is the reason why some radical scholars came together, formed these things, and they have given a phenomenological approach, individual-based approach, which means the approach should take into consideration the experience, the meaning, the interpretation of the individual within the administrative context. Is that coming? So this is the idea of the other part. When you look at the statement, of course, if you cannot go through a phenomenological approach because this is public administration. If you want to become universal, if you want to become a theory, if you want to become predictable, you cannot go for a phenomenological approach, phenomenon approach. You cannot make it a phenomenon. That is the idea. You cannot make PubAd a phenomena because it's contextual. It is moving ahead. It cannot be particular phenomena to a particular person, according to a person, an understanding of a particular individual. Allah. We need a lot of research. We need a lot of activity. We need a lot of, it is a very dynamic thing. Theory building, public administration, if it is taking a phenomenological approach, it definitely had obstructed the path. Because if you're taking what NPS said, you cannot make it a universal thing. You cannot make it a predictable thing. Because aspirations, values of individual changes. All right. Yes. I hope this is clear. But again, 1-2 questions like once in a blue moon, they can ask such questions. Once in a blue moon, they will ask such questions. But remember, we're not getting, nobody can, not one person can prepare for such questions. Not one person can prepare for such questions, but we'll somehow take in trekking, we'll somehow write a couple of points. Again, we'll try to dissect the question to our max. That is the thing that we'll do. So what we doing? Yes, most of the thing, the first part of the introduction, let me conclude. First part of the introduction, you have to add thinkers. Anywhere and everywhere you can add thinkers. Second part, you can add examples. Lively examples. Again, we'll try to bring up more examples in the second part. Okay. Yes. So this is the idea. If you have any doubt, yes, you can ask. Else we can conclude. Anything that you want to share? No. No, I hope you. Yes, I hope you can see. How can we incorporate diagrams? See, introduction thinkers, there's a limitation for diagrams. When it comes to behavior, when it comes to certain thinkers, you can incorporate diagrams. So the scope for diagram over here is basically, there is a Waldo and particular diagram include, but there can be possibility of some flow chart like diagrams. So we'll incorporate whenever there is a possibility, including. Not exactly, Vivek, not exactly, but you should not lose the crux of what they mean. Exactly what you know, but you know, so if you should not put in a quotes if you're not quoting an exact thing. At least the understandability only. Guys, okay? Yes. All right. So one more thing that I need to talk is we'll be having one more value addition class before the exam. We'll let you know because we need to talk about something about the thinkers also. Okay. Yes. More, whatever we have missed out in the value addition class, whatever you need to discuss in the class, let us know. We do have a plan, and what we will do, we'll discuss those things during the discussions, means the post-test discussions, so that there is a value addition for during that time. All right. So, chalo, we'll see you next day. Thank you. Thank you.